A half pork, half beef sausage grilled until perfectly charred and browned, dressed with tangy yellow mustard and crunchy white onions. But it's the final touch, smothering the whole thing in homemade chili, cooked down for hours to hone the sweet and smoky flavor that makes the half smoke from Ben's Chili Bowl a legend in Washington, D.C. Washington, D.C. is a city rich in history, but it's this famous 9-block stretch on U Street, once known as Black Broadway, that has contributed to some of the city's most defining moments. And while this block has struggled through generations of ups and downs, Ben's Chili Bowl, which first opened its doors on August 22, 1958, was there through it all.
It's just the same way that it did like 10 years ago, and my grandparents stayed the same way, which is 20 years ago. It never changes.
Inside the small kitchen that has kept Washingtonians fed for generations is a world of secrets. So many, in fact, that the family goes as far as to prep brown paper bags full of Ben's original spice mix so that even the chefs remain clueless to the final touches.
This magic bag we make every day, and only the family has this secret. Some people get their driver's license, some people get a bar mitzvah. We get the magic spice mix recipe.
This is Kamal Ali, one of founder Ben and Virginia's 3 sons, all of whom left successful careers in their own rights to help keep the family legacy alive.
What is your mom going to do to you if you ever gave away this recipe?
Big trouble, big trouble. I'm not too old to put it over her knee.
Yeah.
And Mama Virginia agrees.
Oh no, we raised them well.
The chili sauce begins with simple, fresh ingredients. Ground beef topped with roughly chopped white onion, green peppers, and tomatoes, loaded into a large stock pot.
Chain restaurant, and other people are making it. They're going to have exact measurements and everything. This is how we do it here. This is how we do it here.
You just pour it in. Okay.
We're just going to toss in these peppers and onions, and what we're going to do is we're going to get it a good covering.
Once all the ingredients are combined and covered with liquid, the sauce is left to boil and bubble for about an hour and a half until the meat is cooked and the vegetables are nice and soft, ensuring a silky, smooth texture. When it's cooked down to about half the amount, the pot is left to simmer for an additional 45 minutes so that the flavor can really develop.
So now it's simmered, all those spices are getting together in there and having a party.
Kamal kicked us out of the kitchen to add some Ali family secret finishing touches. But when we came back, the chili was reduced down to a rich and creamy sauce that he churns with a metal spoon to add in some air and positive vibes.
We add in some community spirit. We add in lots of love. A little bit of Black Lives Matter this year.
Every year.
Of course, every year. And we come out with this nice, smooth consistency.
After the chili sauce is left to cool on a bed of ice, it's taken to the production line, where the iconic half smoke really comes to life.
The half smoke is unique to Washington, and it is Washington's signature dish now.
It begins with a half pork, half beef sausage cooked on a hot griddle until charred on all sides. The sausage is placed on a lightly steamed bun before being doused with yellow mustard, sprinkled with chopped white onion, and finished with that famous chili sauce.
The meat is perfectly seasoned. You still got the bun, crispy on the outside, juicy on the inside, chili laced up. The mustard gives it that little tang. Good to go.
I'm a native Washingtonian, so you can't live in Washington, D.C. and not come to Ben. It's made with love. This family who built this is a love story, you know, and it's an African-American black love story.
The love story that built this empire began with Ben and Virginia Ali over 60 years ago, when he stopped by the bank she worked at and decided to chat her up.
He had the nerve to ask me to call. He wrote a little note with his phone number and his name. Of course, I didn't call him. This was 1957. You don't call a man you don't know, and the rest is history. We had 51 years together before he died, yeah.
Quickly into their relationship, Ben and Virginia decided that they wanted to own their own business. Having worked in restaurants to pay his way through university, the two decided to lean into a tasty chili recipe Ben had cooked up.
We needed an ideal location. We found that ideal location in this community on a street called Black Broadway.
And just like that, Ben's Chili Bowl was born. In the early days, the newlyweds worked day in and day out serving the affluent Black community of Black Broadway, standing as a meeting ground for some of the biggest names in history. Everyone from Duke Ellington to Stokely Carmichael to MLK himself have swung by for a bite of the half smoke.
Dr. Martin Luther King had a satellite office at 14th and U. So whenever he was in town, he'd pop into the Chili Bowl. We'd have an opportunity to chat with him for a few minutes and listen to his dream. And the March on Washington that took place in 1963, we were a part of. And we were here to perhaps prepare food for some of those folks that came in very early. So it breaks my heart today to see that we're still now struggling and fighting for those same basic human rights that we fought for so many years ago.
This is the revolution!
Already active community leaders in the civil rights movement, when protests broke out after the assassination of MLK, Ben's was one of the only businesses allowed to stay open, feeding protesters as well as first responders late into the night.
Now, Stokely Carmichael told me that he had a talk with the commander and said, we need a place together. We need a place for the city officials, for even activists, and for the first responders to be able to come in and feel safe and have something to eat.
It was a meeting place for the civil rights movement, for entertainers, celebrities. No matter what was going on in the country, around the world, Ben's had his hand on the pulse of the community. It was a usual place for unusual people to come, and everybody could be usual. You know what I mean? And meetings have been held in some of these booths, meetings that impacted people's lives all over the country.
Destruction from the protests caused residents to flee the area, and this community continued to face detrimental setbacks over the decades, from drug trafficking into the Black community in the 70s, to disruptive metro construction throughout the 80s and large-scale gentrification through the 90s, all of which, over time, effectively erased Black Broadway off the map. Through it all, Ben's Chili Bowl has remained, even becoming Obama's first surprise pit stop leading up to the 2009 inauguration. But despite the hype, Virginia lives to make sure the place feels like home to everyone who walks in.
She and Ben, during his lifetime, they brought along their family so that their family would continue along after them. And that is an important thing because Ben is gone, and one day I'll be gone and Virginia will be gone, but the legacy of the Chili Bowl will continue to live because the children have made that a part of what they do.
It's a family affair, and I'm so grateful for that. I like being able to come in and meet and greet our patrons and treat them as guests coming into my home. It's been an interesting 62 years. I've not had a boring moment.
Why do you think that's the best?
It's very tasty. Have you tried one?
If I'm being perfectly honest, I've somehow gotten through my life without ever having a chili dog, so I have absolutely no idea what to expect from this, but I will say, just smelling it, it smells like summer. It smells like a family barbecue. It smells like sweet and a little bit spicy. It's goddamn a critique. This is so good. So the chili doesn't have a lot of texture to it, which is where the onions come in. The onions add that crunch that you really want, that fresh, sweet crunch. The mustard on top adds like a little bit of a sweetness, but the chili overall, it's thick, it's rich, it's spicy, but in that way that it's like a flavorful spice. It's not a hot spice, so it feels like you could just keep eating it because it's never gonna like hurt your mouth. I've never had a chili dog before, and it's so much better than I was expecting. Like I feel like I've been missing out on this my entire life.
When I came here, my hair was as long as yours, but look what happened. Them chili dogs are delicious.